Advanced Studio Classroom is on the air. Are you ready for some Cajun food? Well, join us as we continue our food trail tour in Louisiana. You are listening to Advanced Studio Classroom. My name is Brandon, and it is May 4th. We welcome you to the program. And back on today's program, we have our two panelists. First, welcome back, David Morton.
Hello, hello. Good to be back.
What are we talking about in this month's food article, David?
We're talking about Cajun food along the Bayou Trail and a special food trail tour.
All right, remind us again, what does Cajun mean, the word Cajun?
Well, Cajun refers to a group of French-Canadian settlers who came down to this area back in what was it, the 17th century?
Yes.
It coming from these group of people called the Acadians.
All right, and we are in the southern part of the United States. If you have your magazine there on page 12, you see we are in the southern part of Louisiana, near the Gulf of Mexico, actually. And Louisiana is located just near Mississippi and just south of Arkansas. I'm not too terribly far from this area. I grew up just north of Mississippi near Memphis and Tennessee, but I don't know a lot about Cajun culture. It is part of the southern part of the United States, but it is a really different kind of culture. It's its own culture, Linda.
Right, yeah. It has its own unique culture and cuisine, which we've been talking a lot about.
Welcome back, Linda. Thanks for joining us again today. And Linda, now you are originally from Jamaica.
Yes, I am.
All right. Now, is the food there similar to Cajun food at all?
Well, they don't use the same spices or herbs, but it has that same, when we learned this word yesterday, kind of down-home food. Like, it's very hearty and very filling. So, like the rice, red beans, and rice, that is something that is also in Jamaica. That's a staple in Jamaican food.
What is your favorite Jamaican dish?
There's so many.
You can only choose one. What is one of your favorite dishes?
I really like, we call it rice and peas, jerk chicken.
That's a famous one.
It tends to be spicy, but for some reason, I can really handle that spice.
It's not a very nice name. What did the chicken do to be called a jerk?
It's a completely different meaning. It's just the name of the seasoning.
Yeah, that's a famous dish for sure. All right, and David, you are from Pennsylvania, from Philadelphia.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So is there a famous food, like if people listening right now, they are going through Philadelphia and they need to stop for one thing to eat, what would that be?
Cheesesteak.
Cheesesteak, of course.
You're going to want to get a cheesesteak, but this is very controversial because there are many places. You go to Philadelphia, people will say, go to these two different places to get a cheesesteak, right? There's going to be Pat's, there's going to be Geno's. Some people are going to say, got to go to Geno's. Some people are going to say, got to go to Pat's. They're both in South Philadelphia. I'm going to tell you, don't go to Pat's or go to Geno's. All right?
Go to David's.
Go to David's. Right. No, there's a place down, and you know what? The name escapes me now, but there's a place down, I know, right? There's a place down in southern Philadelphia, way down south, and not off of the tourist kind of area. That's where you go to get your cheesesteak.
Yeah, you need to go off the beaten path.
I think he just wants to send people on a wild goose chase.
The word you're looking for is adventure.
Wait, what do geese have to do with it?
I think it's called Gianni's or Giovanni's or like something like that.
But if you don't know what a wild goose chase is, we're not actually chasing after geese.
No, like wild goose chase just means you're trying to find something, but you don't know what it is or if it's even a real thing, right? So maybe you're just running in circles.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to be running in circles. We want to be eating those cheesesteaks, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe while we're running around or something, that's fine, but just get the cheesesteaks. That's the home of the cheesesteak, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Philly?
And
The Philly cheesesteak, that's what it's called.
And we call them cheesesteaks. They're not always, they don't always have cheese. Sometimes we just call them Philly steaks, but it is the home of this particular
Why would you
kind of
not have
sandwich.
cheese? I don't understand.
I don't know. They got these special fancy ones
Yeah.
sometimes, but I mean, get it with the cheese whiz. That's the way to do it.
All right.
Yeah, and also cream cheese.
Cream cheese, yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Philadelphia is
Philadelphia
known
cream
for
cheese.
their
Love it.
cream cheese.
Cinnamon rolls with cream cheese. Don't even get me started. All right. We are on page 13 today. We're continuing our food article. As you can tell, we get pretty excited about food around here, as I'm sure many of you do as well. And we are going on this food trail tour in Louisiana. We're on page 13. Our first reading will just be the right-hand column of that page.
My first stop on day 1 of a 4-day itinerary aimed at sampling 10 of the trail's eateries found me at Harry's Po' Boys, a no-frills roadside food stand in the rural community of La Rose. Beef is a rarity on most Cajun menus, but it was Harry's roast beef po' boy seasoned with a highly secret concoction of spices that became the region's long-standing sandwich sensation. It was by far the best roast beef sandwich I've ever tasted. Next stop on my agenda was Galliano, a town of about 7,500 people nestled alongside Bayou Lafourche, where I would meet up with Anthony Goldsmith, owner and chef at Cajun Twist.
All right, we're stopping. We're going on our first stop, the first stop on day 1 of a 4-day itinerary. And what they were aimed at was sampling 10 of the trail's eateries. That's quite a bit. Okay, so there's 18 that they can choose from, 18 restaurants. And so they aimed at, or their goal was to sample. If you're sampling something, you're just, getting a few bites here and there, so they say. Because, you can't eat full meals at all of them. You wouldn't be able to make it, right? So they're trying out 10 restaurants, basically. And their first stop was where, Linda?
Harry's Po' Boys.
Well, remember we talked about po' boys yesterday. There's a picture of a shrimp po' boy sandwich with tomato there on page 13. They describe this as a no-frills roadside food stand, David. What does that mean?
No frills means that it's not very decorated. They don't try to make it look fancy. It's just very simple.
That's right. And so it's there by the road, apparently. And it's just a food stand. We think of food trucks. Some cities are known for their food trucks. I think there are a lot of food trucks in L.A., right? And different areas of the world have food trucks. I think that's a lovely idea. You can try lots of different foods that way. So this is in a rural community. It's called La Rose, and that's where Harry's Po' Boys is. And what actually did they try there, David?
Well, they tried the roast beef po' boy, which apparently they don't have that very often.
Right.
The roast beef po' boy.
It says beef is a rarity on most Cajun menus. Right? And so how did they season this particular sandwich?
Well, they seasoned it with a highly secret concoction or combination of spices.
So it's a secret recipe, in other words.
Sounds
Okay.
like it.
And it has become the region's long-standing sandwich sensation. That sounds like a nice ad for it.
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah.
A sandwich sensation means what exactly?
Oh, man. It means that this sandwich is like... put its name in lights, It's like a movie star of sandwiches. Really, really good. Very special.
You guys hungry yet? All right. Well, it was by far the best roast beef sandwich I've ever tasted. That's a pretty strong statement. The best ever.
Unless he hasn't had that many roast beef sandwiches. But I assume he has.
Yes,
so.
yeah.
He's writing these kinds of articles. He probably tries a lot of different kinds of foods. Well, the next stop on his agenda, on the plan, was this place in a town of about 7,500 people. and it's nestled alongside the bayou. How do you say that? The name of this parish again, David?
La Fourche.
He's so much better at that than me. Thank you. And he would meet up with Anthony Goldsmith, the owner and chef, at a place called Cajun Twist. Let's look at that word nestled. Linda, what does it mean if something is nestled?
Well, it's just talking about the location. So it's snugly, located along the bayou. So it's right by the bayou.
All right. Well, we have much more to learn. So let's flip over to the next page, page 14, and we'll have our second reading for today.
This restaurant, smartly decorated in 50s style, was founded 32 years ago by Goldsmith's grandfather, Anthony Toops. Goldsmith, an articulate 28-year-old, likes to dabble in more traditional Cajun fare and wanted me to try his shrimp boulette. It features a deep-fried patty made up of shrimp, potato, pepper, and onion that harkens back to an original Cajun specialty. I'd take one of these over fried chicken any day.
So now we are visiting a restaurant called Cajun Twist. That piques my interest. And so this restaurant, smartly decorated in 50s style. When I think of that, Linda, I think of those diners that you go to, those 50s style diners. Those are fun.
Yeah, I think 50s style is very cool. Like, I think of old Hollywood movie stars.
You think of burger places that are like that, an old diner. I don't see a lot of those, but those are nice to go to. So this is in that kind of, that era is the way they decorated the restaurant. And it was founded 32 years ago by Goldsmith's grandfather, so this is a family business.
Yeah, and those are oftentimes the ones that have some of the best, like old recipes. And for those who are interested, the fancy name for 50s style is mid-century modern. But anyway, they say that Goldsmith is an articulate 28-year-old. So articulate there. It's just another way of saying someone is well-spoken.
That's right. So he's 28 years old, and he likes to dabble in more traditional Cajun fare. I like that phrase, dabble in something. You take an interest in something. Maybe you don't spend a ton of time in it, but you just like to dabble around in it and spend some time, try some new things, and so forth. So he likes to dabble in more traditional Cajun fare and wanted me to try a special dish. What is the name of that?
It's a shrimp boulette.
And I guess in this case, I would think he would spend a lot of time. They use the word dabble in, and I usually think you don't spend a lot of time on something. But this, I think he must actually spend a lot of time because it's his restaurant.
Yeah, and it's probably, the recipe sounds like it's pretty involved, Yeah. So we have a deep fried patty, right? So it's made, and that patty is made up of shrimp, potato, pepper, and onion, which sounds just like an absolute savory delight. And
very hearty.
Oh, yeah, very hearty, yeah. And it harkens back to an original Cajun specialty.
Harkens back to something.
Right, it goes back to a certain time or like origin.
So it makes you think of maybe something in the past, right?
Yeah.
And this original Cajun specialty. And the writer of this article says, I'd take one of these over fried chicken any day.
I don't know about that.
What's wrong with fried chicken?
Yeah.
Well, in other words, he's saying it's really, really good. If you say that phrase, I'd take this over that any day, it just means you'd prefer this particular thing over the other at any moment if you had those two choices, right?
Yeah, it's always a better choice.
Yeah, so it's really, really good. So I guess if you're in southern Louisiana, try it out. See if you think the same way. Well, we are not finished yet. The feasting continues as we go to our third reading for today.
The feasting continues. Although I'd eaten twice in the last couple of hours, the prospect of trying some seafood at Leeville Seafood Restaurant a highly rated restaurant right on the edge of the Gulf near Port Fourchon, seemed promising. Greeting me was owner and manager Sue Cherami, and grand dame of the Cherami family of restaurateurs. She served me a bowl of shrimp, crab and corn chowder, soft-shell crab, and a platter of fried oysters. All of Sue's seafood is delivered fresh daily by local fishermen, a big reason why it is way beyond delicious.
All right, are you ready to keep eating? Have you had enough yet?
Not yet.
So ready.
All right, good, because the feasting continues. And the writer says, although he'd eaten twice in the last couple of hours, the prospect or the possibility of trying some seafood at Leeville Seafood Restaurant, well, it was promising. It seemed promising. It's a highly rated restaurant right on the edge of the Gulf near this port. And so he's eaten some already, but he's excited about this particular restaurant because it seems promising.
Yeah, when something seems promising, it just means that, oh, you really think it's going to be a good experience.
It's going to be successful, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to enjoy this process. In this case, he's going to enjoy some delicious food. Mm-hmm. Who is greeting him at the restaurant?
The owner and manager, Sue Cherami.
All right. And what is she known as, David?
She is the grand dame or grande dame of the Cherami family of restaurants. So it sounds like there's a group of different restaurants that are maybe even located in the same area.
This term, grande dame, it just is referring to a woman who is respected because of her experience or her knowledge of a particular subject. And so apparently she knows a lot about what's going on with the food in this restaurant.
Yeah, and that phrase "grande dame" can also be used to describe. I've heard it used to describe like an antique hotel, right? In France, there's this very famous hotel. I think maybe it's a Marriott, I believe. But anyway, it's like the grande dame of all the different hotels.
Yeah, sometimes they use it for buildings.
Yeah, for buildings. So it can be used not just for people, but also for objects as well that are really respected.
All right. Now, what food did he get when he got to this restaurant, Linda?
Well, he got a bowl of shrimp, crab, and corn chowder. He also got soft-shell crab and a platter of fried oysters. Those all sound really good.
Yeah, and we have pictures of some of those. We have fried oysters there and the deep-fried soft-shell crab. I mean, we all know if you deep-fry almost anything, it's going to be great. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Deep-fried Oreos, anything, right?
Deep-fried butter, deep-fried.
Oh, man. All right, so this is what, and we see a lot of seafood here. Now, do you all like seafood? Are you big seafood
Oh,
eaters?
yes. Love seafood.
What's your favorite seafood?
Lobster or crab.
And if it's fresh, it's really good. How about you, David?
Well, my favorite seafood used to be shrimp, but then I developed an allergy in my early 20s. So now my favorite seafood is just any kind. I mean, I actually really love squid and eel. Those are great, But eel, you shouldn't eat eel because there are not that many of those left. I heard something about that.
Okay, so watch out for the eel. I like shrimp, but I'm not a huge seafood person.
Really?
Not really.
I thought you were.
If it's really fresh, that makes a huge difference, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it needs to be fresh.
Yeah. So that, maybe I haven't had enough nice fresh seafood, but I like it some, but I don't love it. All right, so all of Sue's seafood is delivered fresh daily by local fishermen. A big reason why it is way beyond delicious. So here, again, we see this key component of freshness.
Yes, and that's what makes Cajun food so delicious is that, they're going right out and getting that food right out of the swamp.
Well, they're close right there by the ocean.
Yeah.
The Gulf is right there.
Go out in the boat and pick it up and then cook it that day. And that just makes it really good.
That's the best when you eat freshly caught seafood.
All right. Well, it is our turn, apparently. We've been reading about this writer and his experience, but it's our turn. We'll learn about that as we go to our last reading for today.
your turn. In conclusion, I hope I've managed to whet your appetite for some of the most tantalizingly tasty food this side of France. If so, don't just sit there drooling and dreaming. Head on down to Bayou Lafourche and try it for yourself.
All right, well, the writer hopes that he has managed to whet your appetite. That's a good phrase to know.
It is. And another one is pique your interest, which has this similar meaning. So it's just means to increase someone's interest in something or, try to get them to try it.
Yeah, it describes this as some of the most tantalizingly tasty food. If something, and this word tantalizing, is talking about it excites you, excites the senses, right? And we see some other words here that kind of play into that. The word drooling means you're excited about something. You're not necessarily literally drooling, which is saliva coming out of your mouth, right? But you kind of feel like that. You just think of some delicious food that you love to eat. You get really excited about it.
Yeah. Right? And I also like this phrase. So they say it's the most tantalizingly tasty food this side of France. So whenever we use a phrase like that, it means that, he's kind of making two compliments at once. On one hand, he's saying that French cooking is really good. And many people feel like French cooking is like the best kind of food you can have, right? So he's saying on this side of France, this food that you can get here in Louisiana, which comes from French culture, is like really amazing. So it's kind of like an interesting phrase. People will use that, this side of one place or another.
Really good point. And so we don't have to just sit here drooling and dreaming and thinking, oh, we're missing out. We can head on down to this Bayou Food Trail Tour and try it for ourselves. Now, there are all kinds of tours in the world that you can take, and I think a food trail tour is probably at the top of my list, Linda.
Have you ever gone an actual food tour?
No, I haven't, but I would love to.
Okay. Because they have food tours in different places, too, not just here in this
Have you done that?
area. I haven't, but I've thought about it.
Okay.
Maybe.
You know what you ought to do?
What's that?
Go on down to Missouri or over if you're in New Orleans.
Or up?
Or up, yeah. And if you go to places like that, then you can do, I don't know if they have an official, food tour trail or something like that, but there's a lot of barbecue restaurants.
Oh, come on.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you.
I come from the barbecue capital, right?
Well, you would
Memphis.
say that. Say that to someone from Kansas City, Kansas,
true.
that you come from the barbecue capital.
That's true.
Right.
And why I say, there's this debate in certain parts of the United States, the southern part and Kansas City, that they have the best barbecue and they taste different, basically. There's different sauces that you use. Where I come from in Memphis, every May, actually, it's May right now, they have something called Memphis in May where they have a barbecue festival. And there's a competition, and you can go try different barbecues, I guess. I've never actually been to it, but that is something that they pride themselves in. And so when you brought up barbecue, that's a big topic to me, right? And that's one of those, we talk about culture and food. That for me is one of those culture food kind of deals, right?
Yeah.
And so, Missouri, you've lived there.
I lived
right?
there for
so
a bit,
what's some food there that people should try?
Barbecue.
Okay.
Actually, there's amazing barbecue in Missouri. That's one of the things that they're very proud of. There are some places you go in and you have your option of 22 different sauces, along with all kinds of different cuts of the meat. You have the brisket and you have pulled pork, and they've got the chicken. They've got some sausage.
Drooling.
Oh, it's amazing! It's amazing. and what's really to me very fun about these kinds of traditions is that you have these really great little local competitions.
Yeah.
Especially when you get out into the countryside. I went to this place out in outside of St. Louis. It's called World's Best Barbecue.
Well, there you have it.
And I went, and it was pretty good. I don't know if it was the world's best.
That's a strong claim.
Yeah, but it was just funny,
Okay, Linda, you're originally from Jamaica, but you then moved to South Florida
Yes.
at some point, right? So that's a different culture in of itself.
Yeah.
What's a famous food dish that people should try if they go there?
Well, if you go to South Florida, particularly Miami, you should try the Cuban food that is in Miami. For example, Cuban sandwiches are quite good. You like those, don't you, Brandon?
Yeah, I tried one of those the other day, and I'm not sure if it was authentic, but it was really good. On this particular one, you tell me if this is accurate. I think they had like pulled pork and ham and cheese. Is that normal?
Yeah, like
Okay.
they'll have like some sort of pork.
So it
and
was
then,
sort of authentic at least. It was really good.
And then is it like pressed, like toasted?
Yeah, I think so. It was delicious.
I heard there's a special kind of mustard that they use on those too. Is that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I read that somewhere in L.A. That's what they do.
Maybe different variations.
Might be a different
The
variation.
LA Cuban sandwich.
LA sandwich. Yeah.
But yeah, Miami offers like all different types of foods because there's a mixture of people from South America, from Central America, from the Caribbean. So you can try so many different types.
Yeah. Yeah. And listeners, maybe there's a favorite food that you have that connects with your culture. We invite you to interact with us. Let us know what that is. Go on to our website, studioclassroom.com, and give us your feedback or write to us at advanced@studioclassroom.com and let us know your thoughts. And some of you may see your comments on our feedback page if they are selected in the magazine. We have our feedback page where we select every month comments from listeners and readers. So be sure to do that. And also check out our Topic Talks videos. You can simply scan the QR code at the beginning of each article or go to our website, studioclassroom.com, where you can view those there. We have some introductions for you, some skits or features, and also insights. So be sure to check those out. Well, are you all hungry?
I
Yes.
sure am.
I am very hungry after talking about food, and listeners, maybe you're hungry as well. I hope you enjoy a nice meal soon. Well, until next time, this is Brandon
Linda,
And it's David.
saying goodbye.
So long.
bye.